Welcome back to WG Gaming and back to another podcast of sorts. I have been away for a week and I was watching the Bears game right now, the wild card game, and I was just thinking, I have some free time right now and I can record another wrestling podcast slash anything else that comes to mind. And last week's episode actually got a couple of views, more views than I actually intended it to. So as long as they get that same amount of views or more as it did last week, I'm gonna keep doing these. And if you guys are here for the ride, thanks for listening. And let's talk some more wrestling, I guess. I don't really have any sports stuff to talk about. I could get that stuff out of the way right now if you guys want to skip ahead like a minute or two. I'm gonna talk about some sports real quick. If you guys are just here for wrestling, just skip ahead a little bit. I just had to say a couple things about the NBA and NFL. NFL, they are in the playoffs right now, and the Seahawks blew a chance. I don't know if you guys saw a video that I have on my channel with Joe Buck. I don't know what the hell they were thinking after that. Why did they punt the ball? Why didn't they try to go for an onside kick? Now I wasn't paying attention to the whole entire game, but when they punted the ball, I didn't pay attention, and then I was like, wait, they don't have any timeouts. Why would they punt the ball? Why not go for an onside kick? I think like their punter was injured or something, but still, why not just have some random person go in there and kick it? Try to go for an onside kick. Anyway, if you guys know what happened there, let me know, because I really would like somebody to clear things up there. Because the Seahawks, that's like another stupid move in the playoffs, starting with when they didn't run the ball in that Super Bowl when they lost to the Patriots. Really dumb of them. And then in the NBA, then also, so it's the Cowboys, the Chargers. As of right now, I don't know who's gonna win the Bears Eagles game, but the Cowboys and the Chargers, and then I think the Colts have all advanced into next week to take on the division winners into the divisional round. So let me take a look here. Let me just make sure that it is the Colts. And then in the NBA, everything's just revolving around the refs this year. I feel like every other day, I go online and I notice that the refs were like missing calls and blowing all these, like blatant calls that they should be calling or not calling, especially in the Rockets games with James Harden and stuff. And again, the other day I saw James Harden, or not James Harden, Kevin Durant went for a ball out of bounds and he completely, like, he was all the way out, like his entire body was in another zip code, and he touched the ball back in. They counted it, but the Rockets were still able to come out with a win. But James Harden, like, he was getting pissed off, and I saw in the comments like, "Oh, when the calls against you, you get really mad, don't you?" But yeah, James Harden gets too many calls called on him, and I was watching the Lakers and Rockets highlights it might have been a couple weeks ago, but when the Rockets were getting like some ridiculous calls in their favor, and like LeBron James and Kuzma and Lonzo Ball and all them were getting really pissed. That was really funny. Like at first, I was actually like, "Wait, what the hell is going on here? Like this should not be taking place in an NBA ref game. Like they shouldn't be calling all these things." But then after a while, and I kept seeing like more and more calls being, called. I was like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. This is like funny now. This isn't even like I don't even know what to say. But I don't even remember who won that game. It was probably the Rockets because they kept getting so many calls in their favor. But that's just ridiculous. The referees in the NBA are probably some of the pussiest referees that I have ever seen in my life. They get triggered by the most random thing. Oh, like Ben Simmons, wasn't it Ben Simmons? He got a call. He got called for something, and then he went to go sit in the crowd, like just randomly on a chair, and he got a technical for it. That was so like, what the hell is going on? Like, just let them do that. They're not causing any trouble or any harm to anybody on the court. So just let it happen. Just leave it be. But yeah, those are some things. And then I don't even follow NCAA. Has the main championship game taken place already? Probably Alabama won, right? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys follow college sports. That's going to be it for my sports rambling here. Now let's get on to some wrestling stuff. We started off and I did stay up for 20 hours watch this show. Now I wasn't planning on watching it, but I was already awake at like 1 o'clock, 2 a.m. in the morning. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay awake. I had one cup of coffee, but that's like my ritual. I always have a cup of coffee before I go to sleep. For most people, you'd be like, what? Doesn't that prevent you from going to sleep? But no, coffee is just like another drink to me. Like I find it soothing to drink it before I go to sleep. So like an hour or two, I sip some coffee. So I had some coffee. When I am planning on staying awake, coffee will keep me awake if I think about it. But that's just like all in my head. But for the most part, if I plan on going to sleep 2 hours after I drink coffee or 1 hour, I'm fine. Like I'll fall asleep. But anyway, like I was saying, I drank some coffee, but just one cup, the cup that I usually take before going to sleep, and and so yeah, I was in. It was like 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. when I drank that cup of coffee. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep like in an hour. I'll just watch Wrestle Kingdom. That's what I'm getting at. I'll just watch Wrestle Kingdom tomorrow morning in the when I wake up. You know, have some breakfast, put it on and whatnot. But then it was like 2 a.m. and I was like, all right, it would be ridiculous for me not to even try to watch it, right? Even if I fall asleep during it, I'm fine. And I found this channel on YouTube, Tyler Williams, who covers some New Japan stuff, and I was like, this is amazing. Let me. He was live streaming his reactions and stuff, so I was like, you know what? I'll tune in every other match to try to stay awake and have a conversation. And then it turns out I was fine. I stayed awake the whole. I didn't go to sleep until like 7 a.m. in the morning after the show was done. Now for the main event, I kind of was dozing off. I don't know if the match was like boring at the beginning because I can't remember the beginning part of that match, the Kenny Omega versus Tanahashi match. But I woke up for the second half of it and it was really good. There was on the channel that I mentioned in the live stream, people were saying that it was gonna go to like a 60-minute draw, and I was kind of worried about it. But they were like 30 minutes into the match because the announcer had said there were 30 minutes left in the time limit or for the time limit. And I was like, oh no, don't tell me it's gonna be a draw. I mean, I usually hate draws, but that's in WWE. I've never seen a Japan show all the way through like Wrestle Kingdom. This was my first, like from start to finish. I watched the entire thing for the most part. I did uh, doze off from here and there, but not to go to sleep, but to do other things. And you'd be like, what the hell are you doing at 2 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning? But I had to stay up somehow, so I did some random tasks around the house, ate some food, ate some cereal, and surprisingly, I didn't have any more coffee. I should have, but I didn't. So some of the matches that I remember, let's start from. I only remember like four matches, and they were all the singles matches. They were like the big marquee matches. I don't remember much of the tag stuff. Most of the tag matches in New Japan are really quick. Even if they are like three ways, they finished relatively quick to what you would expect in a three-way tag team match. So they opened the night with obviously they had the pre-show, but I didn't watch that because that was around the time that I was kind of seeing if I was gonna fall asleep or not. So the main show starts, and it starts off with Will Ospreay and Kota Ibushi. Now, before this, Will Ospreay to me was just like a spot monkey. I don't know if that's like the right term for it, but that's what I hear on the internet, so that's what I'm gonna call it. Sorry if that's like offensive to anybody. But then, seeing how Ricochet has evolved into the WWE way of doing things, he's got my attention, and so I was like, all right, Will Ospreay could probably do the same thing if he ever went to WWE. Because before this, I've never watched a New Japan show, like I said. So watching this, I was like, all right, this is gonna be a lot of flips and shit. I'm probably not gonna enjoy it, but I was like, all right, let me tune out everything that I learned in WWE about how wrestling works and how wrestling is supposed to be, treated. So I came into the match and into the night with expectations differently to what I would usually go into watching a wrestling show, which really helped because if you go into it thinking uh, comparing it to WWE, you're gonna be disappointed because This is a way different style than you would get on a WWE pay per view. So I tuned all that stuff out of my mind, and I was like, all right, let me just give these guys a chance. So everybody on this card, I was like, all right, show me what you got, and I'll be, I'm giving you my full 100% attention, and I'm not thinking of anything else but just how you guys are doing it in the ring right now. It was like I was watching wrestling for the first time. So Will Ospreay, Kota Ibushi put on a hell of a match, and then at the end, the best part or the worst part, depending on how you look at it, Will Ospreay delivers this huge crushing like elbow to the back of Kota Ibushi's side. Ibushi didn't see it coming because he had his back turned to him, and then it looked like he was just out of it. Now before this, they were putting on a good match, and it was probably like gonna be better if maybe Ibushi didn't get taken out. Maybe that was like the ref was like, all right, just end it right here. But the match was building up nicely, and then he hits the elbow. Ibushi was out of it. I don't know if he was selling it or what. And then Osprey picks him up for this sick finisher move. I don't know what the name of it is, but he drops him. He gets the pin, and then Osprey just like I was like, holy shit! Like I don't know what the hell I've been missing. So right off the bat, that match like had me intrigued for the rest of the night. So then following that, the next match that I can remember, obviously they had more matches, but this one I remember just for the pure entrance, the Kushida match. I don't know who the other guy is. I'm sorry, because he won the championship. I think it was the junior heavyweight championship match. But Kushida, like for the entrance, he came out with like this. First of all, a kid came out and he had this mask of Kushida, and like I think that's his name, right? Kushida. But anyway, he came out. The kid came out with his mask, and it looked so realistic. Like it was so creepy to see that, and it was just like the entrances in New Japan are really creative. I'm guessing they give these guys a lot of like leeway to do whatever the hell they want with their entrances, and I really like that because it was kind of crazy. Because then like Doc from the guy from Back to the Future, the guy with the white hair. I don't even know his name because I had never watched Back to the Future. I know you guys are probably like, what the fuck? But anyway, the Doc, I think Doc. I don't know what the hell his name is, so I'm just gonna say the Doc came out, and then he grabbed him. And he was like, no, no, no. He had this like remote. He takes him back, and then he presses a button, and then Kushida, the mini Kushida, like all this smoke fills around him, and then once the smoke clears, you see the real Kushida. It was just amazing. The entrance was freaking like it just drew me in. That's what I want with a wrestling show. I want me to not be thinking about what the hell is going on. I just want to be like enthralled in it, and that's what I did. And then he ended up losing the title match, but these guys are freaking thick. Like junior heavyweight, this would be like a cruiserweight in WWE. These guys are freaking thicker than a snicker. Like no homo. But uh, the guy that was challenging for the belt won it. That was a pretty decent match as well. And then next up, a match that under delivered. Cody Rhodes taking on Juice Robinson for the United States Championship, the New Japan US Championship. It ended with Juice Robinson doing his what the hell is it? What is the move called? Is the name of a movie Juice? No, I'll think about it later. But he hits two different moves or two finishers to Cody Rhodes to end it off. He hit one and then he picked him up immediately and gave him the same exact finisher. And it was a short match. It felt like, and yeah, Cody Rhodes wearing some Jacksonville Jaguars attire and colors. So that was a little bit of a nod there to his AEW. So next up, then we saw Jay White. I don't know if this is how the match order went, but then the next one that I remember was Jay White and Okada. Oh my God, that if you guys don't watch anything, watch the last three matches. I think these were the last three matches. So then Okada and Jay White. Jay White, when I first heard of him, he was taking on Kenny Omega. I don't remember around what time, but this had to have been around the time Jay White was just debuting. I thought he was American, but Jay White is like New Zealand from New Zealand or Australia or something like that. But coming into the show, I was like looking at stuff that was building the pay per view for WrestleKingdom, and Jay White has this new switchblade. Actually, it's probably not new to people that actually watch New Japan, but to me, it's new because the last time I remember him, he was as generic as a long-haired white wrestler would, be like. That would be like a creator wrestler generic edition on WWE 2K. Oh shit! I just dropped my damn controller over here. My PlayStation controller just fell. Sorry about that. I'm not gonna edit that out because I don't feel like it. Even though I probably should make this channel a little bit more credible, but nobody cares about that. I'm just trying to get my opinions out there because I feel like I have some pretty decent ones when I'm not rambling and I'm not just going around in circles. But yeah, Jay White coming out as the Switchblade, his that character is so like unique. Like there's probably been other versions of it, but like with him using it and the story behind it, I love that gimmick on Jay White especially. He plays it off completely. Like it's not even like he's playing a character. Like it feels like the way that New Japan like the promos were like something like how do you say it? It like clicked in his mind, and then he was like, "All right, I'm gonna be this character," and because the other way hasn't been working or whatever, and I think it has worked, and I can't wait to see what happens. I think at the show afterwards, what was it called, New Year Dash? I think he came out and challenged the champion, the main champion, the world champion Tanahashi, for the belt. So I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'll watch that match. I feel like that could be another good match there between them. But yeah, Okada was going for the Rainmaker so many times in the match he couldn't hit it, and then I think I'm actually not sure if he did or not. But at the end of the match, Jay White hit his finisher on Okada, and I've heard that Okada and like those guys, Tanahashi, Naito, don't really get pinned a lot. So when Jay White pinned Okada, it was a big deal, and it felt like a big deal because the guy that was in his corner of Jay White, he was he was formerly with Okada, and then he turned his back on him. So there was some story there with him, and then so yeah, Jay White gets the victory over Okada. That was a good match as well. And then the next match I remember, I don't know. Once again, I don't know if this was the order, but then it was Chris Jericho taking on Tatsuya Naito. I think that's his name. I know his last name is Naito. Jeez, I have to sneeze, but it doesn't come out. Chris Jericho. What can you say about this guy? I mean, you know how some people have been coming back, like Goldberg or The Undertaker, Kane, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, even back when he did it. Like they come back after being gone from WWE for a while, and then they take a spot. They take quote unquote a spot from a younger guy or a guy that's been there full time at like let's say WrestleMania, right? They take a spot from him, and the fans are like saying, "Boo, fuck this guy. We don't want him here. We don't want to see this." Like for example, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Undertaker versus Triple H at in 2018, or Goldberg, Brock Lesnar 2017. They were like, "All right, we don't want to see this guy again. He's just gonna take a spot from a guy that deserves it." But I think if Chris Jericho were to come back in a year or two to the WWE, fans would fans would admire what he's done on the indie scene and in New Japan, and would say, "Give him the main event." And if they didn't give Chris Jericho the main event, people would be pissed that they didn't give Chris Jericho the main event at WrestleMania. Like that's how good Chris Jericho has been the last couple years outside of the WWE and building up like a name for himself elsewhere and not giving a shit what WWE would do or think of him going to these places. I like that he's just doing his own thing. And this match was another good one. Good one. Chris Jericho taking on Naito. It was a no DQ match. It started off freaking big. Naito hit Chris Jericho with a pile driver on the outside on the ramp. And one thing I will say, why does New Japan Didn't isn't this how Rick Rude and probably other people have gotten injured? But the main guy that I'm thinking of is Rick Rude. Didn't he get injured and like his career was kind of over after he did like some move from like the ring to the outside, and then like their stage or the ring is elevated from the crowd. I'm guessing so they can see better. But the way that the ramp or the ring and the stage is set, it's a little bit elevated. So, but it's not that much room. Like if I do a move to you, like if I do a suicide dive from the ring to the outside, we're getting close to that little elevation in the ramp in the ring area. And isn't that how Rude got injured? I don't know why they would do this. Why not make it a little bit longer, or just get rid of it completely? The elevation in the stage. I just feel like it's a health risk for people that are diving. And in New Japan, oh, they dive. They're doing crazy outside of the ring moves all the time. So I don't really like that, just because I feel like people will get injured on the, especially on the edge of that, like not really falling off of it or anything, but like if they land on their back on the edge of that little like of the ramp and the stage or whatever, if they land on that, their back could be seriously hurt, and I think that's what happened with Rick Rude. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't really like how that thing is. But anyway, Naito hits the power driver on Jericho, and it looked like Jericho went face first, like Owen and Austin from Survivor Series '97 type power driver on the stage, and then Jericho takes him. I don't know if you guys have seen the how the Japanese tables are, how they have their tables. They go to like the announcers area, and Jericho hits, I believe it was a DDT on Naito on a table. The table doesn't crack. You just hear the big old like smack, like. Actually, that doesn't make it. That wasn't really how it would sound, but how you would imagine your head hitting on a piece of wood would sound. And Naito sold it like Rob Van Dam used to sell it back in the day when he used to get RKO'd or DDT'd from like the top rope. Naito sold it just like that, and he stayed up for a bit. That was so freaking like amazing that he sold it like that, and the smack of his head on the table made it that much more impactful. Then Jericho came in with a couple kendo stick shots, and it wasn't like WWE kendo stick shots where you were like, "Oh, that's the only weapon they're gonna use." Even if it was the only weapon, they used it so incredibly well. Jericho kept hitting him with the stick, and then I think at some point Naito got the kendo stick back. I'm not sure who was heel and who was babyface. I don't even know if that's a thing in New Japan or if it's just like fan favorites and fan people that don't really get over with the fans. I don't know. I don't know how the babyface and heel his system works in New Japan. But at the end of it, it looked like Naito. At the beginning, it looked like Naito was the face and Jericho was the heel. At the end of it, Naito was throwing around the Intercontinental Championship like if he was a heel. So I don't know. So in the match, after Naito was getting hit with the kendo stick, Naito got his hands on it and was nailing Jericho with a couple big shots. Then he's winding up baseball style to hit Jericho with it. I think this is when he misses, and then Jericho returns or turns around and gives him the code breaker. And this is one of the best code breakers I've ever seen taken in my life, because he goes like face first into his knees, and his like the back of his. I'll try to get a picture for you guys on the screen there for you, but like the way he takes it was just like it looked more impactful than how people in WWE take it. But he kicks out. Naito kicks out. I think he took two code breakers. Both times they were pretty insane the way he took them, and he kicks out of both of them. Then Naito gave Chris Jericho a code breaker. Not really a good code breaker, but he gives him a code breaker nonetheless. Jericho kicks out. Then Naito, I think his finisher is called Destino. He hit him with that. He pins him 1, 2, 3. Naito wins the Intercontinental Championship, and Jericho does just goes home crying. I guess we'll see what Jericho does on from there. But he reports have been online. Now I don't really like to take these reports seriously, but this is different. Jericho saying that he wanted to go for the World Heavyweight Championship So maybe he's not done with New Japan just yet. And then finally, the main event. I already talked about it a little bit earlier. It was like a 30-minute plus probably match, what can you say? It was a what you would expect from a Kenny Omega and Tanahashi match. If you know what these guys can, bring. Tanahashi was one of the older guys. I think they said he's been there for a while. I don't know how many times they said he won the world championship before, but he's been New Japan champion before. And Omega dropping it makes you wonder what he's gonna do because supposedly also his contract is coming up at the end of this month, February. In February, he will be a free agent. But I'm not really sure about that. I don't really like to get into contracts because how the hell do you know exactly when these companies don't really make those public like they do in NFL or NBA and in other major sports? You don't really know in wrestling when a guy's contract is up. How do you know? Just because Dave Meltzer says it, and where does Dave Meltzer get that information? How do you know that he's credible? You know what I mean? So I don't really like to buy into these whole like contract negotiations or contracts are coming up discussions on the internet and rumors of that type of stuff because you don't really know if it's credible, especially contracts. But anyway, Kenny Omega lost the world championship, and Tanahashi gave a speech at the end of the match, which was really like heartfelt. And I was watching the English commentary, so obviously, because I obviously don't know, I don't speak Japanese. I would probably like because of this show. This show was good enough that I would probably want to learn how to speak Japanese just so I can understand what these guys are saying. But anyway, the announcers were translating everything, and I'm really looking forward to see how or future New Japan shows. I'm not really sure how these shows are scheduled because obviously in WWE you have Raw on Mondays, Tuesday SmackDown, NXT on Wednesday, and then you have your pay per view every like 4 to 5 weeks. And then you have your main shows that they build up but you already know it's WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank even nowadays. And NXT has it, every Big Four pay per view. You know what the Big Four pay per view are in WWE, and then even if you don't, you have a pay per view every month. So you're kind of in the know on their website. They make it easy for you to know what the pay per views are. In New Japan, I was looking at their schedule. They do have a schedule, but they have different days, and the shows are named exactly the same. For example, they have a show called like New Beginning or something like that, but they have a New Beginning in different days. So, for example, uh, don't quote me on this because I'm not sure. This is just for an example. The show, let's say New Beginning, right? It'll be February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Osaka. And then they'll have another New Beginning in a different city for another 3 different days. So I'm not really sure how that all works out. But uh, I'm going to try to stay with New Japan because I really enjoy WrestleKingdom, and I think this is the caliber of matches that they always put on their shows. It's not like NXT. I mean, it's not like WWE where okay, put on a good match here and there, and just on these shows, like put on a good show at WrestleMania, and then the pay per view after that, just like just calm down, uh, just decent matches, whatever. But no, I feel like in New Japan, their goal is to always have amazing matches, and that's what I really like about it. And if you guys haven't watched Wrestle Kingdom or New Japan, and you guys are like, if you guys hate WWE, I would recommend you go watch Wrestle Kingdom somehow, and try to stay with it and also don't think about comparing it to WWE when you're watching it because you're not gonna have a good time. I didn't do that, and I was freaking amazed. If I would have been comparing it to like how WWE works, I would have been like, wait, but why do they do it this way, and why do they do it that way? Instead, I looked at it with new eyes, you know, and I was really amazed, and I really liked the show. Wrestle Kingdom 13 already pay per view of the year. And speaking of pay per views of the year, my 2018 ranking of all the WWE pay per views is coming out either today or tomorrow, depending on how I want to release the ending of the greatest tournament ever in WWE 2K19 videos. One of those two will be coming out in the near future, but they all should be out. The ending of the greatest tournament ever 2K series is going to be finished this week, and so will the ranking of all the 2018 pay-per-views should be out this week. But now, let's get into some more depressing news. We have WWE to talk about, and let's start with actually, you know what? Let's start with last week, and then we'll move into what's gonna be coming up on Raw or SmackDown this coming week. Hopefully, I am recording this on Sunday. Hopefully, this does come out before Monday Night Raw, so that this will make sense, and I'm not speaking before the future when the future has already taken place. So anyway, let's talk about some stuff from last week on SmackDown, and I don't really have anything. There's one thing from Raw that I took away from the entire show. Now I didn't watch it live. I didn't watch SmackDown live that much. I watched bits and parts on the internet and on their YouTube channel. But one thing that stood out to me was the Moment of Bliss announcement, and what I immediately thought was, okay, that should be good. But then, as I was looking around on the internet watching other videos, people kept referring back to Alexa Bliss, her "This Is Your Life" with Bailey, and the stuff with Sasha Banks and Bailey for the open mic, what is it? The open forum. And I was like, holy shit, those were terrible. Do not give Alexa Bliss a titled segment because she will not, like, they have all been terrible so far. Now, you get her out there for just to cut a regular promo. Okay, she can do it. Give her like 5 minutes on the mic to talk, even back and forth. Maybe give her 10 minutes at most with Alexa Bliss. But if you give her 10 minutes, you have to give her somebody else to work off of. But if you give her 5 minutes by herself, she's fine. 10 minutes alone, trying to get a talent that isn't as good on the mic, like a Bailey, trying to get her over in a segment for a 10-minute period, that's not gonna work out. And she has Ronda Rousey on the talk show, and Ronda Rousey is not that good of a talker. So this segment should be it's either gonna be okay or it's gonna be ass. It's gonna be one or the other. It's not gonna be great. There's no way this. Now, if I'm wrong and I enjoy it, actually, I don't even know if I'm gonna watch it live. I'll probably watch the edited version that WWE puts out because I'm not watching Raw as of late. I haven't watched it since like November, since Survivor Series, and so I'm thinking it's gonna be either ass or okay at most. Like that's how good it is gonna be, or that's how bad it's gonna be. I don't have any high expectations. I did for a second when it first got announced, but now listening to everybody talk about how her previous segments have gone, I'm not really looking forward to it. Now, then afterwards on SmackDown, not much actually happened on Raw that I can think of right now from this previous week on December 31st. So then we move on to SmackDown December or the 1st of January, the SmackDown that was taped. We had some stuff that happened that I wasn't really a fan of. The SmackDown previous to this, which was the SmackDown on Christmas Day, now I really enjoyed that episode. Even if it was taped, it somehow still was better than Raw. I think I said that before. But this week's SmackDown was not that good. Uh, I had a lot of problem with the promos that were delivered on this night, and for the most part, they were all either repetitive or they didn't make any sense at all. They had the stuff with Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton cutting their backstage promos before their match, the Fatal 5-Way match. They were cutting promos and they were so damn repetitive. We've heard this before. Like Samoa Joe saying that he's gonna take out everybody, and we know you're not going to because they keep booking you to lose, so it's not believable anymore. Rey Mysterio talking about his heritage. For example, actually, I'm not really 100% sure because I've tuned those promos out of my mind, but this is what I think they said, and they probably did. That's how repetitive they are. Rey Mysterio talking about his heritage and that he didn't come back for a nostalgia act. He's back to win the WWE Championship, he said, probably. And then Randy Orton saying that he was going to take out all the heroes. He was going to be WWE Champion again. We've heard this time and time again for the last couple months from these guys. And then the AJ Styles and Vince McMahon promo in the backstage in the office. Okay, AJ Styles comes in. Why is Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon sitting down? First of all, and they don't get up when AJ walks into the room right away. I don't think they did. Usually back in the day in the segments, let's say Kurt Angle walked in the room, Vince McMahon would immediately get up, and that would add some drama to it, especially since AJ Styles punched you in the face last week. Why wouldn't Vince McMahon get up right away? And then AJ Styles says, "Did you guys want to see me?" Remember that. He said, "Do you want to see me?" Okay? He comes into the room, he says, "Do you want to see me?" And then he cuts a cringy ass promo. He keeps cutting himself off and looks away into the abyss, like if he was reading cue cards. Really bad segment here. I'm sorry about that, but AJ Styles, come on, like I don't know what they're doing with him. Can AJ Styles can cut a decent heel promo? That's what they were probably trying to get across here, and they should have just let him do it. But he kept saying, whenever he finished a sentence, he would look away into the abyss, like I said, and it didn't make any sense. It was really cringy. So then at the end of it, I think he said something to Vince, and then Shane got up, and Vince was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry, it's fine." That had to do with Vince wanting to AJ Styles for him to like hulk up or whatever. Be a bit, be a what's the word for it? I hate it when I can't come up with the word, and it's like on the tip of my tongue. But he wants like rage to come out of AJ Styles for him to be meaner and whatever. So Vince is like, yeah, whatever, whatever, just let it go. Shane is like about to fight him. Hopefully, we don't get another AJ Styles or Shane McMahon feud. But then AJ Styles walks out. Now, remember what I said when AJ Styles came in? He asked, "Did you guys want to see me?" Vince said nothing, or Shane for that matter, did said nothing to AJ Styles. So what was the point of him coming into the office? Now I would have understood if AJ Styles would have just walked in and started saying those words. But why would he say, "Did you guys want to see me?" And then at the end of it, Vince McMahon didn't say anything to him. You know what I mean? Like he didn't want to see him. That meant that he didn't want to see him. So why did AJ Styles come into the office in the first place? So I had a problem with that. And then there was the Rusev when he cut his promo. I don't think he had a match. He was just in the ring with Caleb Braxton or Charlie Caruso or one of them. Uh, Rusev cut a promo. It turned into him talking about himself again, saying that his beer was delicious and that he smelled like what is it, bacon flavored Cinnabons or something. What what are you talking about? People said, "Oh, he's being himself." Okay, he's being himself, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. You know what I mean? Like just because he's being himself and they're giving him freedom doesn't mean it's gonna be a good promo all the time. Now, is he funny? Yes. Have I enjoyed his promo work before? Yes. However, what he did on SmackDown, that was just so bad, and then it ended off with him saying Rusev Day USA like 20 times before Nakamura got in the ring. Uh, and then, yeah, that was just a horrible promo as well. Adding adding it to more of the horrible promos that I mentioned earlier, and then Nakamura coming out. What does this mean? That he's gonna get a rematch after they said no more rematches for championships? Oh my god! And then finally, not really I had a problem with what was said, but the repetitive of it, like I said earlier, with the promos on SmackDown, Becky Lynch and John Cena. John Cena said something about Nikki Bella dumping him when he first came out, and then when Becky Lynch came out, not only did she cut a repetitive promo that she's been cutting for the past, couple months, that she is the man. She'll drop John Cena. Oh, she said she'll drop John Cena just. Oh, Nikki Bella won't be the only person to drop him in 2018. First of all, or she said this year, 2018 or this year. First of all, it was 2019, that episode of SmackDown. And second of all, John Cena had already mentioned Nikki Bella in his promo when he came out. So why would you say it again? So I don't know if that was a miscommunication on Becky and John Cena's part when they were going over the promos backstage. but it just made no sense for Becky to say that once again. Uh, and it was just repetitive with her saying, "I'm the man." And then Selena Vega came out, challenged. Oh, she said something about an old face and a broken face. That was a stupid line. The way she said it was just cringy as well. And just a lot of cringe, repetitiveness, and no sense in these promos on SmackDown. And one other thing that I had a problem with, the Fatal 5-Way for the number one contendership. If anybody would have came out of that match as a winner, I probably would have been upset with it because it was at the Royal Rumble match. Let's see, Mustafa Ali, you're not ready for that. Give him a shot on SmackDown at the most right now. Like, don't give him a match at the Royal Rumble. Randy Orton, heel versus heel. I actually wouldn't. If Randy Orton did it, I wouldn't have minded it that much. Because I think they could have put on some good promos. Since Randy Orton is a heel, he probably cares a little bit more, seeing as whatever. And they have had matches before that were decent, so Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan probably wouldn't have been a bad choice. Samoa Joe, he's a heel, and how would that have worked out? Samoa Joe has lost, and he probably would have lost at the Royal Rumble as well if he would have won. So I wouldn't have wanted Samoa Joe to win because he keeps saying he's going to win and he doesn't. It's not his fault, but whatever. He's not as believable as he was in the summer when he said he was going to kill somebody. Now you're just a loser. Uh, as they turn every monster into nowadays. And then AJ Styles, I get that he's the new AJ Styles, whatever that means. But why him again? Why AJ Styles again? We had the blow off at TLC, and this match doesn't have a stipulation to it, unless they surprise me and add one to it later in the coming weeks. But I doubt it. This is going to be another one-on-one match. But the new AJ Styles taking on the new Daniel Bryan. These are just two gimmicks that. Why do they call him this? They just call him AJ Styles Daniel Bryan. So yeah, I'm not really looking forward to the match, and it's it's something when WWE can make you hate something that should be great. You know what I mean? Like 20 before AJ Styles came into the WWE and Daniel Bryan was still as hot as he was. Okay, imagine this: if I told you 2014 after Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania 30, he won the WWE Championship. I was like, all right, in 5 years, how would you like AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble? 99.99% of fans would say, "What? Are you kidding me? That would never happen in my life." And if it did, that would probably be the greatest match in the history of the world. 99.99% of fans would have said that in 2014. Now, 2019, we've arrived to my hypothetical situation. Who cares? Who cares about this match? Absolutely nobody. Maybe 10.1010%. That didn't make any sense, but actually it does because 10.1, whatever. But 10.101010% of the fans care about this match now because it sucks. There's no story behind it. We've seen it before. We've seen it 3 times, I think, and there's no story behind it. So I really have a problem with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble, but I'm guessing they're gonna put on a good match. Hopefully the match at TLC was decent. It was good. Just don't do a stupid finish like they did at TLC at the Royal Rumble. At the Royal Rumble, we need a clear-cut winner, no roll-up, because a roll-up leads to speculation of, did you really deserve that win? The way that WWE makes it seem all the time, it's always a cheap win when somebody rolls up to win. It's always a cheap win. So either Daniel Bryan makes AJ tap out or hits him with a running knee to finish it. I don't see them giving AJ Styles the title again, unless they want to have Daniel Bryan in the Royal Rumble, and then they take the belt off of him and put him in the Rumble. But I doubt them. I doubt them putting AJ or Daniel Bryan in the Rumble. So this is just gonna be a regular one-on-one match, and I'm not really looking forward to it, like I said. And that's about it from SmackDown last week. Coming up this week, we have some on SmackDown. Let's start with SmackDown, and then we'll work our way up to Raw. On SmackDown, they're gonna have a triple threat match with Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Carmella. This is one of the funniest things when I was reviewing stuff to see what I was gonna talk about on today, and I saw this matchup. They also have the Usos taking on the Bar. First off, why the Usos again? Second of all, it's gonna be a non-title match. It's gonna be if the Usos win, then they get a shot at the Bar. Oh my God, another rematch? Can you? Are you kidding me? If the Usos win, obviously it'll be a rematch. But I'm pretty sure we've seen the Usos versus the Bar before. So then, whatever. Anyway, the main match that I was that I wanted to talk about, Carmella versus Charlotte versus Becky Lynch in a three-way match. Number one contender for the women's championship at the Royal Rumble, I believe. Okay. Just keep Becky Lynch out of it. Just have her announce herself for the Royal Rumble so that she can. She has she has a she has a what do you call it? A conflict that allows herself to make sense for her to announce for the Rumble already and not care about the women's championship. All she has to do is say, "All right, I lost the women's championship. I'm on to something bigger. I want Ronda Rousey. The only way that I can get that is by winning the Royal Rumble and challenging her at WrestleMania. So I am announcing for the Rumble match. Okay, just throw her in the Rumble match, okay? And then why do they have her in this three-way match? I don't know why. If she doesn't win, that'll make even less sense. Charlotte, okay, I don't really care because Charlotte and Ronda, we've seen it. She could also do the same thing that I said with Becky, announce herself for the Rumble because she wants Ronda Rousey, but nobody really cares about her and Ronda anymore. We just want to see Becky versus Ronda. Okay, so Charlotte, I'm fine with her being in this match. Becky, keep her out of it. Why not do Charlotte versus somebody else? Because Carmella is the number 30 entrant in the Royal Rumble that day. So what happens if she wins this three-way match? They don't explain it. You know what I mean? So Carmella should not be in this number one contenders match because she's already in a match that night, and she's number 30, which is a big deal. It's not like she was just a random person to announce herself for the Rumble, and we didn't know what number she was going to come out in. No, Carmella was the number 30 entrant. So why is she competing for a match at the Rumble when she already has a match scheduled? You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. This new era, or whatever the hell they're shaking up, it still makes no sense storyline wise. I used to love the Attitude Era, even if they did have monologues that would go on for 20 minutes, because in those monologues they would explain detail by detail any questions that you might have regarding the storyline. I can't think of anything exactly right now, but I just remember like different things. You would get a storyline built out of it, not just, oh, this week we're gonna have her do this, and then next week it's something completely different. That's what's going on now. Before, each week would be leading up to something else, or each segment would be continuing on that episode of Raw. I remember this actually now. One time, Stone Cold was having this. He was getting this petition signed, right, to have a match or not have a match or something. And throughout the night, he would get it signed by different people, and he would. Now he was a heel, and he was going up to people that were faces sometimes, or legends like Sergeant Slaughter, or a commentator, or even just random guys in the backstage area that were faces. Now, when he would go back there and he would ask these people to sign the petition, he was a heel, and he's probably done some bad things to these people, but he would be like, "Oh no, I admire your work." He would like play up to them and kind of switch his character a little bit and make you believe why he's getting these people to sign his petition. And then it ended with him fighting Spike Dudley, I believe, because he said something about his girlfriend. Nowadays, if Stone Cold were to have that petition signed, he would only go to heels. You would only see like one segment of it, and then at the end of it, and then that would be the end of the episode. But in this episode, they had Austin go to, and this is why it didn't happen. Why his match never got, why the petition never like materialized. And this was done on SmackDown. You wouldn't think, and when the brands were not split, the petition, I'm getting like excited just talking about it, just like I was with WrestleKingdom, and then like whatever. But let me keep going. So he went to Spike Dudley and Austin made like a backhanded comment about his Molly Holly, who was his girlfriend on TV at the time. And Spike was like, he was about to sign it. Spike was a babyface. He was about to sign it because Stone Cold had like won him over with whatever he said, but then he said like his Molly Holly was a bimbo or something, and Spike was like about he was ready to sign it. He was like, wait, what did you say? And then and then Austin was like, haven't you heard Molly's a bimbo? And then Spike got all pissed off and he rips up the petition, which put an end to that little thing that he had, the petition, whatever. So that's why he never whatever Austin, I can't remember what he wanted, but whatever he wanted didn't happen because not only did the petition get fucked up, they had an ending to it. Nowadays, the petition would either just go away randomly, or they would say it once, and then that would be the main storyline. They would be beating the dead horse out of that petition. That would be the main storyline throughout the whole feud. You know what I mean? But this was just done on a random SmackDown, and then it carried on to Raw, because I think Spike called him out and said, let's have a match for the WWE Championship. They had the match, and then it ended that feud in that episode. Nowadays, back to trying to get back to what the hell is going on now. If Spike would have done that on SmackDown, Austin would have just had a match that night. He would have beat him, and then that would have been it. And then that's the end of the story. Nothing really came out of it or whatever. But that's one of the storylines that I remember that actually makes sense now in terms of little details and storylines playing out different ways. Something that they don't do anymore. And then finally, and I forgot what we were talking about. Oh yeah, the Carmella, Charlotte, Becky Lynch stuff, which makes no sense. They could just be doing something else, and they don't explain why they're in this three-way match. And then finishing off this episode with some returns that are coming into Monday Night Raw. We have Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Braun Strowman, and Hulk Hogan making an appearance, according to WWE, this week on Raw. John Cena coming back to I don't know what. Braun Strowman probably going to interrupt when Paul Heyman is talking on behalf of Brock Lesnar, who's just standing in the ring, jumping up and down, not saying anything, not adding anything to the story. And Hulk Hogan, who's coming back to honor the late great Mean Okerlund. Gene Okerlund, yeah. Rest in peace, by the way. He was one of the best backstage announcers in the history of WWE, probably, because he was given his own, his own character. They let him do whatever the hell he wanted when he interviewed these people and gave him a character of his own to kind of let him express or let him do his role the way that he thought was gonna get the talent over. And for the most part, he did that because he would help guys. It seemed when people didn't know what the hell to say, Gene Okerlund would step in there, would jump in there and help them out, ask them a different question, or kind of answer the question for them if they didn't know what the hell they were saying, if they weren't really good on the mic. And he added a lot to the backstage announcer role that he was given, and I really like that. It's something that we don't have now because, like I said earlier, when Rusev came out, I have no idea who was the ring announcer that was in the ring with him, and it doesn't really matter. You could replace that ring announcer with any one of the people that they have working as that in that role, and nothing would be different. You know what I mean? If you put Gene Okerlund in that role, or the coach who used to be a ring announcer, there will be a difference. Like the coach is this fucking snot nosed punk. Gene Okerlund is this highly regarded veteran that's been there for a while, that kind of can get to the point. Now they all ask the same questions, and sometimes they don't even ask questions. They're just like, "You're having a match with Randy Orton next," and then they just put the microphone up to the talent. Okay, what was the question? Isn't that your job to ask questions as the ring announcer or as the backstage whatever? So yeah, rest in peace to Mean Gene, one of the best in the business. And they're bringing Hulk Hogan back to honor him. I don't know exactly what that means, but this is a part of a bigger problem that I have. Not so much that they're bringing him back to honor Mean Gene, because Hulk Hogan. When you think of Mean Gene, you kind of think of Hulk Hogan. They had some good back and forth back in the day, so I can see why they would want to bring Hogan in for that. Obviously, they're bringing him in for the first time. This is the first time that they're bringing him back since that scandal with him in 2015. Supposedly, he hasn't apologized for what he said in that, and that's a whole different story. I don't want to. I don't really want to get into that. I want to get into a bigger problem that Raw is trying to hide here. The fact that they're promoting John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and Hulk Hogan, and to an extent Braun Strowman as returning to Raw and trying to get viewership up and ratings up. Okay, now I understand that they are big draws, and I can see their views are going to go up, especially because it's not taped anymore, and the holidays are over, so they should be going back up to 2 point whatever. And people, if they didn't watch the night after TLC when they said they were going to shake things up, maybe they're going to tune in now to see what has changed. So they're going to get a bump in viewership one way or the other. The thing that I have a problem with is that they wouldn't be in this problem having to bring back Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Brock Lesnar to try to get viewership up if they were just building talent like they used to. Now, if you had Ronda Rousey killing people, not having the same tag team match with Tamina and Nia Jax, if you just had her killing people, cutting some short and simple promos, that would be a draw for you. Okay, I would be intrigued in that. If you had Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, cutting promos, letting them be who they are. For a second, I mean, back when Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre were first together, that was a part of Raw that I would actually be looking forward to because they would say some real stuff and they would actually be entertaining. Seth Rollins could be another entertaining if you could turn him heel because when he was doing that heel stuff, he was a part of Raw that was really interesting to watch. Dean Ambrose as well uh, when he was doing his thing in his feuds with Rollins and Lesnar and fighting for the Intercontinental Championship before, like in 2016, not in SmackDown or whatever. But he was a part of Raw or SmackDown that I was looking forward to. Yeah, just guys like that. And then if you have more Sasha Banks and Charlotte were also something else that I would be looking forward to on an episode of Raw. But for now, it's all six women tag matches that have nothing to do with anything. Especially when you're trying to build up this women's tag team division. Why are you still having six women tags? Have just regular tag team matches between different pairings. Trying to get these women, what do you call it? Trying to get them into a tag team. Like have them form their tag team if they're not doing anything. For example, have Dana Brooke team up with Alicia Fox, and they get a couple wins here and there, leading up to the tag team unveiling. Ember Moon and fuck it, get Natalia out of that Ronda Rousey storyline, put her in this tag team stuff. Ember Moon and Natalia get some wins here and there. Sasha Banks and Bayley, stop giving them matches against the Riot Squad. We've seen it so many times before. That's probably going to be the finale to the tag team. If they have a tag team tournament for it, for those titles, it's going to be probably the Riot Squad versus Sasha and Bayley. In all seriousness, come on. Like, we don't want to see that. You don't need to have these nostalgia acts come back in order to get viewerships up when all you can be doing is building up these superstars. How did Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, John Cena, and Hulk Hogan become household names? Because you treated them well on TV, you let them do what they do. You highlighted their you highlighted their strengths and hid their weaknesses. For example, Brock Lesnar was a killing machine. You didn't have him talk that much. He did talk in 2004, but for the most part, he had Paul Heyman with him, and that's what really built him up as this destroyer and stuff. So you highlighted their strengths, you hid their weaknesses, and now they're not doing that. Everybody's 50-50. If they can't cut a promo, you still force them to cut a promo somehow. Like they had to cut a promo. Ronda Rousey should not be cutting promos. Nia Jax, Tamina doesn't really, but that's just an example. Tamina, Nia Jax, um, just to name a few, should not be cutting promos. Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre should be giving more freedoms in their promos to say a little bit more of what they feel to get them over with the crowd, not giving them scripted shit. Because when you give them scripted shit, you can tell that it's not, it's not what they're thinking in their head, and then it comes off as not likable by fans. So then that makes it a disconnect with the crowd, and then you're not building anybody because nobody's getting behind that person. You know what I'm saying? Braun Strowman, he got over like crazy because he was killing people. He can cut promos. Yes, he got better in that. But in 2017 he wasn't really that good in promos. But he was able to cut decent promos. Don't give him these crazy, cringy promos about how he's a monster and he's gonna kill everybody. Not killing everybody. How he used to be bullied or whatever back in the day. I remember around the Money in the Bank time when they were doing the Money in the Bank promo. He cut this treehouse promo, which made absolutely no sense. But if you just had when he was just coming out, destroying everything, killing Roman Reigns, cutting short and simple promos about how he's not finished with anybody, how people are gonna get these hands. Okay, leave it at that. He got over, right? And then you killed it by having him lose all the time. 2017 SummerSlam, you should have pulled the trigger. He should have won the Universal Championship. There was no reason to keep it on Brock Lesnar. Looking back on it now, why? So that Roman Reigns could beat him at WrestleMania? Well, that didn't happen. So, you know what I mean? And then when Roman beat Brock at SummerSlam 2018, it wasn't as big as they thought it was going to be because they cut from it, and Braun Strowman came out to help him, or came out to distract Brock Lesnar so that Reigns can get the spear and win. So they have failed so many times to capitalize on these superstars that should be big now but are not. A guy like Shinsuke Nakamura and Bobby Roode, they should have. Bobby Roode should have stayed mid card and worked his way up to the main title, but they gave him this tag team shit. And who is it getting over? Nobody. Instead, it brought Bobby Roode down to Chad Gable's status, and it made Chad Gable. When you give somebody a gimmick, it's never gonna work out. You gave Chad Gable's Bobby Roode. You gave Chad Gable Bobby Roode's gimmick, and that's not gonna help him at all because it's not his. And you brought down Bobby Roode to Chad Gable slash jobber status by teaming him up with Gable. No offense to Gable, but that's just where he was before Bobby Roode started tagging with him. Shinsuke Nakamura, you had him lose 4 times to AJ Styles in matches that he should have won, especially since he picked that last man standing match, but whatever. And then Samoa Joe as well, he should have won the championship. Looking back on it, seeing that Daniel Bryan just won the championship out of nowhere on a random SmackDown, why not give it to Shinsuke Nakamura for a month or two, see where that goes, and have Shinsuke Nakamura stay face, and then face Samoa Joe at a SummerSlam or Hell in a Cell, and then give it to Joe for a month or two, while AJ Styles, Miz, and Daniel Bryan were facing each other to see who was going to face Samoa Joe, and then around Survivor Series, if you give it to Daniel Bryan, that case in that way you keep the championship fresh. You don't make AJ Styles seem stale. You don't have multiple matches with AJ Styles and Nakamura and AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. It would have been a whole lot of switching it up and stuff with rivalries and feuds, and it wouldn't have made these guys as stale as they are now. And the fact that they're bringing back John Cena, Lesnar, and Strowman and Hogan, they're announcing that as a big deal when it should not be a big deal because their main focus should be on building up their talent that they have now and trying to make them be the stars. So when they say in 10 years, oh, Finn Balor is making a return, people are tuning in because it's Finn Balor returning. You know what I mean? For an episode or here or there. You know, that should never be the main focus. Having a talent or having a nostalgia act coming back and being the main focus. You know what I mean? For a pop, sure, why not? You know, or not announce it and have it be a big deal. Also, don't announce Hulk Hogan's coming back. Don't announce John Cena's coming back. Don't announce Braun Strowman is coming. If you would have announced Brock Lesnar coming and then Braun Strowman's music hits, that pop is a lot bigger than it will be. If you don't announce John Cena's coming and you start the show off with John Cena, that pop is a lot bigger than it would be if you announce it. If Hulk Hogan's music hits out of nowhere, even if it's just to honor Mean Gene, that pop is going to be a lot bigger. Even if people have a problem with what he said before in his past or whatever, that pop is going to be there for Hulk Hogan, and it would be bigger if you didn't announce it. But for now, I'm done with this week's episode. I feel like we covered a lot. Yeah, and also be on the lookout for the greatest tournament ever to be concluded this week, and also my ranking of the WWE top 10, or just in general, ranking all the WWE pay per views of 2018.